the next version of Angular that has come out few months back, that is Angular 4. So in this demo, we're going to talk about how we can get started in our quest to learn about the latest version of Angular. So first thing, as you can see here, we have this angular.io website. So I'll just zoom in so that you can see the URL. The angular.io website has been the Angular website since version 2, and since version 2 Google has made a decision to go in a parallel track, so to speak, when compared with Angular 1.x. So as I had mentioned in an earlier video, Angular 1.x continues to be maintained, and even as we speak, Google releases updates for Angular 1.x. So today we will be talking about how we can get started with Angular 4, that is the latest version. In fact, to be exact, the latest version is 4.3 point something. Alright, so as you can see, this is the website, and over here when you click on get started, you can see a short quick start tutorial. But what we are going to do is a bit different. So I have created one folder over here, and in this folder let's go and create our first demo. So in order to do that, I'm going to rely on the Node.js command prompt. As you can see, I have done cd and come to that folder which we are seeing here in front of us. So in order to use Angular's latest versions and latest features, we have to use something. Angular's latest versions and latest features, we have to use something called Angular CLI. CLI stands for Command Line Interface. So Angular CLI is basically a program that we install on top of Node.js, and that allows us to easily create and run programs with help of Angular. So let's try it out. So first I'm going to assume that we need to install Angular CLI. So for that, the command is npm install. We need to ensure that we install it globally, so we say -g. Now over here, this is something very important. We have to say @Angular/CLI. Now if you say Angular/CLI, Angular-CLI, then that is for Angular 2.x. However, starting with Angular 4, you need to say @Angular and /CLI. Now reason for slash is that starting with Angular 4.x, Google has split up Angular into multiple small modules, and each module has to be separately downloaded like this. So in this case, the module that we are downloading is Angular CLI. So it's going to take about a minute. Until then, as we can see, Angular CLI has now been successfully installed in my system. The next step that we do is we use Angular CLI to generate a new project. So once Angular CLI has been installed, we can use it to create a new project. So let's try it out. So I'm going to say ng new, and then I can give a space. And specify the name that I want to provide for my project. Let's call it demo 1. So it takes a few minutes, and it's going to download everything and create a new project for me. So while some of the dependencies are still getting downloaded, let's take 2 minutes to look at the project structure. So I will open it up here with Visual Studio Code. As you can see, the project has now opened, and in the background some downloads are still going on. So this project will not be ready to run immediately, but it will take a couple of minutes and then it will be fine. So till then, let's take a few minutes to look at this project. The first and most important thing that we need to understand is that Angular 2 onwards does not use plain JavaScript anymore. So starting with Angular 2 onwards, in this case we are on version 4, we have to use something known as a transpiler. In this case, the most preferred transpiler is Microsoft TypeScript. The idea of a transpiler is that it allows you to use the latest innovations of JavaScript, even if they are not supported on your browser. So the trick here is that the transpiler allows you to write in the new syntax, but then converts that into the old so-called old syntax, which is supported by earlier browsers. So in this way, you have the advantage of using latest features, and yet not having to worry about whether or not those features will be supported by the user's browsers. So coming in here, let's take a minute to understand this project structure. So as you can see, we have got a lot of stuff in this project, but at this moment, let's focus on this source folder. Now under the source folder, we have everything that we require for our application to actually work. So if we look in here, you see we have an index file that represents our home page, and then there are also a couple of TS files. TS stands for TypeScript. So Google officially uses TypeScript as the preferred language for working with Angular. However, you can also use plain JavaScript if you wish, and there is a third option as well. It's a language called Dart, which was started off by Google, but later on they decided to move ahead with TypeScript without having to actually go much into Dart. Dart is still supported by some of the people in Google, but officially TypeScript is the way to go. Now, since this is our first demo, I'm just going to go and make a small change to it. So I'm going to come in here into this app folder, which is under source. And over here, most of our UI is going to be represented by this file, app.component.html. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to come in here, and as you can see, this is some extra text, so I'm just going to delete it. And I'm going to come in here to this file, app.component. In Angular, so component is the key portion of your application. So when you create an Angular project, you're going to be creating it as a set of components that are related to each other. So by default, when we use Angular CLI, we get a project with a default component. So here you can see that in this particular component, we have a variable declared. So I'm just going to rub it out and declare 2 variables of my own. I'm going to call them public for now. Now let's take a minute to understand what is happening here. So what I've done here is I've declared a variable called title, and I have specified that it's a string. Now as you can see, this is a major departure from regular JavaScript, where you're not having to worry about data types. But in case of TypeScript, one of the big points is type safety. So because of that, when you declare a variable in TypeScript, you're supposed to provide a data type for it. So in this case, we have used one of the most common data types, that is string. Now next what we will do is, we will display the values of both of these variables in our HTML. So for that, I come back to this app.component.html file, and I'm going to add one div. In this div, I'm going to go and add a heading. In this heading, I'm going to display the title. So you will find that this expression is familiar looking at our previous Angular. So this is a data binding expression that we're using, and the idea is that we want to display the values from the view model here. So how does this all work? So in app.component, we have declared these two variables. So in short, whatever you declare here can be accessed from our page. So in this case, in our page, we are just displaying this. So without further delay, we can see here that all the components are successfully installed. Let's try to run this project. So I'm going to say ng-serve -- open. So it will open up this project. Oh, sorry, forgot to do one step here. So we say npm install. Oh. Sorry about that. We need to go into our demo1 folder. So we say ng-serve -- open. Now, one interesting point here is that there is actually a compilation process that goes on. So if you look at the messages that we are getting here in the command prompt, it has taken all our TypeScript files, converted them into JavaScript files, and then generated the HTML for me. Unfortunately, as you can see here, this application is not working in Internet Explorer. Let me try to open it in Chrome. So here you can see that we have opened up in Chrome, and this is our title and our message. So that's it for this video, and as we move further, we will talk further